Getting our first ever Atlantic Implant Institute All In, All on X podcast going. The All In, All on X. It's a big day. I'm really excited. Today is going to be our inaugural episode, and it's streaming live. It's here on Zoom, and it's also on various social media platforms. And today was a bit of an ordeal. You saw the setup because we are going with some different software right now, and pretty soon we're going to be bringing a whole bunch of new features to you, probably even before the next podcast. But welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. I'm Dr. Adam Hogan, and I want to welcome you again to this first ever All In, All on X podcast live stream. I am the founder of Full Implant Choice and the Atlantic Implant Institute, which I run together with my wife, Allie. You may know the Atlantic Implant Institute simply as the Institute. What we are going to launch here is a live stream basically every first and third Monday of the month when I'm available, when I'm not on vacation or otherwise sick or something. But the first and third Monday of the month, as of now at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be streaming right here on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and on Zoom. So soon we'll be up on all of them on one platform, and we'll be able to answer all of your questions. Why the All on X? Why the All In, All on X podcast? Because I think that this is about growth. I think this is about growth in your clinical business, growth in your business, and your personal growth. I think All on X is much more than just placing some implants and making some teeth. I think that it is extremely complicated, while at the same time can be very simple if you understand it. But I think there's a lot of facets that go into All on X full arch implant therapy. Whatever you want to call it, let's just get that out of there. All on X, all on 4, all on 5, all on 6, all on whatever it takes. It's just your graftless immediate load solution. And those that know me know that I really despise that trademarked term all on 4 by Nobel Biocare, just like I don't really all on X, because it demeans the procedure and what you're doing. And not everything is just all on 4, 5, 6. Not everything is FP3. Not all patients can be treated like they need that work. I think into my consultations today, out of having probably 8 or so consultations today, I definitely told one person they're in the wrong room. They don't need this kind of treatment. I definitely looked at a few of those patients, and there's no way to treat them without remote anchorage. And I saw a couple of patients that absolutely should be treated as FP1. So saying all on 4, all on 5, all on 6, I think it really trivializes the procedure. It trivializes what we do. I think that it means much more to give patients exactly what they need, not what we want to give them. With the All In, All on X podcast, I am not here just to talk theory. I am here, we are all here together. We are here to talk about real cases, strategies, business strategies, success stories, and failures. And in the months and years to come, I'll be showing you many failures. I'll be showing you many successes. I'll be having guests in with us from different areas of the country, around the world, to share their opinion and their perspective of full mouth reconstruction, which is basically what it is, full mouth reconstruction. Going into my background, for those that don't know me, and for those of you that are watching live and those of you that are going to watch this recorded version later on YouTube, for those who don't know me, a bit of my background. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, first and foremost. You can see on the wall behind me, I'm also a Navy veteran, by the way, but I'm a Marine first. You can see my Navy sword, my Marine Corps scabbard in the shadow box on the wall behind me. You can see my American flag with this is an eagle, globe, and anchor, the symbol of the Marine Corps. You can see some various challenge coins that some patients have brought me since I've been recently collecting. I even had a patient bring me this K-bar a month ago. But I am a Marine, a veteran. And that is important because it has shaped how I approach everything in life and in dentistry. Everything is disciplined. Everything is precision. Everything is mission focused with a special emphasis on honor and integrity and having a high spirit to do things enthusiastically, the way Marines would do them. That's the way Marines approach their everyday, and that's the way I approach my everyday in my practice. Honor and integrity. And those who know me know that I will not stand for anything less than integrity, than the ultimate integrity, and doing things right. I have been in practice, private practice, for more than 20 some years. I bought this office back in 2007. At that time, I was buying the office of my mentor, Truman Baxter Jr., who had been placing implants since 1970, learned implants from people like Hilt Tatum, Lenny Linkow, folks like that. And in Truman's circle, literally taught people like Carl Misch, who was a friend. Hilt Tatum was a friend. These are people who have been in this building. And so it was quite a legacy that I bought into in 2007. But at that time, we were a general practice that was heavily focused in dental implants and prosthetics. So I think we had 2 insurances maybe back then, and we did a lot of fee-for-service work. We did a lot of overdentures. I participated in my very first All-on-X in 2003, believe it or not. In my general practice residency at Portsmouth Naval Hospital, Captain Alfano, commander at the time, maxillofacial prosthodontist, came to me and he said, "You're going to do this. This is going to be your table clinic presentation." Now, with the help of the oral surgery department and the residents and Captain Alfano, because I was a knuckle dragger, didn't know what I was doing, to be honest with you, but I was learning. It was still a relatively new-ish procedure. But that was when I first got started in full implant dentistry. And it's important to say that it was the Stone Ages back then. And even though sometimes I still feel like we are in the Stone Ages. But I can talk more about that later. We learned a lot from that case. We learned a lot from other cases. But I'll tell you, I spent my next few years in the Navy, and then I spent 2006, I came out, was working with Truman Baxter, bought this practice in 2007, as I said, and we were doing a lot of implants. He was mentoring me. I was taking education in classes. It wasn't just the implants, though. He was a really great prosthetic mentor. This guy could make a denture and an overdenture, and I learned everything I know about full arch occlusion from Truman and some other education along the way. So it was really quite a great time for me to come into dentistry in an analog period where we were transitioning into a digital world. In 2012, I started moving my practice completely more into digital. On my own, I started learning my own lab work, and then later I built my own lab. But tonight, I'm not here to talk, I don't want to talk about just myself. I created this podcast to not talk about myself and not talk just about clinical dentistry, but also talk about the business side of dental practices. So back then, with Truman and I, we were probably producing or collecting 1.5 million. And then when he left, I was doing that on my own, and life was good, but it was a general practice heavy in implant dentistry. In about 2012, I started doing more of my own lab work, started getting involved in exocad and 3D work. We quadrupled our collections and productions, and in just a few short years. And we learned a lot about business along the way, because obviously it became readily obvious and apparent that it wasn't going to be just about doing more high dollar procedures that makes you successful. There are a million things that go into a good business strategy. Teams, teamwork, people, culture, equipment, technology, latest technology, how you use it, knowing how to use it, that all the team knows how to use it, workflows, standard operating procedures, getting things right every time consistently so that you can't get them wrong, business, and of course, the prosthetics. Because this isn't just about dropping in 4, 5, 6 or more implants. This is about the prosthetics. Patients don't care that you have 2 pterygoids and a quad zygoma in the mouth. They don't care about that crap. That's just for Instagram for other dentists to see. They don't care. In fact, it probably scares the crap out of them. They care about teeth. They care about a smile. They care about it looking beautiful. They care about how it's going to look, how it's going to feel. They care that it's going to last. So prosthetics and business quickly become the key stressors in the full arch practice, not the surgery. These days, I walk in the morning and you don't even know what case you have. And they walk in the morning, you figure it out in 5 minutes and you go, let's go. That's the easy part, or at least hopefully that one day you get to that point where that's the easy part. I have said it for years. I coined the phrase that patients live in surgery, but your practice will live or die in prosthetics and business management. And so we started out with this institute, the Atlantic Implant Institute, which of course, at first, everyone wanted to know, how do I place implants and how do I use digital workflow? But what I quickly realized was that everybody was asking business-related questions and relatively very few people truly understood the full arch prosthesis, especially the fixed immediate load full arch prosthesis, both in temporary provisional stages and in final stages. And so it became evident to me that the Atlantic Implant Institute had to create a continuum of courses from basic full arch to advanced prosthetic dentistry and digital workflow, then to 3 remote anchorage, and then we had to add on FP1 because not everybody's an FP3. In fact, the longer I practice and the more that I look at people, I find more and more FP1s. And then, of course, because in our clinical classes, we were getting inundated with business questions. How do you become this successful? When I know how to do it, how will I grow? How will I maintain? How will I sustain? We had to add in the business modules. And so we had to add in all 5 modules. And by the way, we also have private mentoring experiences where you can bring your team to full implant choice. We also can set up one-on-one surgeries for qualified candidates after they take some classes. And so we can do education in a responsible fashion, all right, where we are giving you all the steps to make sure that nothing is left out. And speaking of all the steps, our classes are focused on several different facets of the learning process, if you will, aspects of the learning process. We have the didactic training, of course. We have to get the information. We have the type it on exercises, where you do the work on type it on. So you place implants and you scan them and you do this and you do that and you create teeth that you can take home with you. Then we have the live patient demonstrations, where you watch prosthetics get done, you watch preoperative records, you watch surgery, you see it get done professionally in expert mode so that you know what it should look like. You see the post-surgical prosthetics. So it's didactic, type it on, you got didactic, type it on, watch live patient, and then 4, working on cadavers, dissecting, anatomy review, placing implants. Then go on to live surgery. So it's very responsible and it's very thorough from A to Z with our approach to education. All right, let's get started. Enough on that. Let's get started on a little clinical segment. All right. I want to talk about a little bit about the history and the concept of All on 4. All right. We have to thank many people, but I think notably, many people recognize Paulo Malo and Nobel Biocare for their hand in All on 4. I will admit, It wasn't the first people that I saw published on it or read about it. I think I noticed Balshi and Wolfinger and all their talks in 1999 to 2003, where I think they were talking at the same time. But there are a lot of people who contributed to this. I think most broadly people recognize Palomalo and Nobel Biocare as the leader in this. But when we dive in, when we look at this history, okay, first of all on four, that's a phrase. That's a trademarked marketing concept to get people educated about the process and doing it. But fixed immediate load. So if we go back, I think we can go back to early 90s, maybe even 91, maybe even before that. And we see studies getting published where, in the mandible only at first, doctors were putting in 7, 8, 9, even 10 implants. And then they were loading half of them. And the thought process was that we don't want the patient to wear a denture. So we'll put in 8 implants, we'll load 4 of them, bury 4 of them. And then they expected that when the healing process was over, the 4 they loaded would be failing. And at about that time, they could just remove those bad implants and then load the implants that were buried. Switch it over from one set of implants to the other. So we had that history in the 90s. And what they had found was that the implants they loaded weren't failing. They were doing just fine. They had great success with that. So basically, like most inventions of mankind, most big inventions are discovered by accident, right? Take the fire, take the wheel, whatever. They were discovered by accident. So in very much an experimental kind of way. In 2003, we tried to do our own. And I'll tell you, it did not turn out very well for that patient, but I learned a lot. Now, that being said, back in those days, 2003, we didn't have the same engineering of implants. We didn't have the multi-unit abutments. We didn't have the restorative materials that are available today. We didn't have 3D printers in every office. We didn't have photogrammetry, true photogrammetry. We didn't have anything. We were working in the Stone Age. So I will note for you that the last 20 years have been just a phenomenal transformation before my eyes. I've been able to see how we came out of medieval times, the Black Plague of all-on-4 dentistry, and be able to turn this into a very predictable procedure for the right kind of patient today. And I do want to comment that this is not all about the procedure. This is not about the placement of 4 implants. This is not about the placement of 5 or 6 implants. This is not about your ability, hopefully your ability, not lack thereof, your ability to convert into those implants and that denture into a new fixed set of teeth in the same day. That's the goal, the same day. Don't go home without teeth. Don't wear a denture. This isn't really about that. This is about the power of dentistry to transform and impact lives in this universe. The older I get, the more I realize that this meaning of life is all about people and relationships. It's all about the impact that we have on others. And hopefully, if you are a good person and not an evil person, that impact is going to be made in a positive way. I've had countless patients tell us here at Full Implant Choice that we saved their life. Literally, hear people say, "You saved my life." They'll say, "I was depressed. I didn't do anything. I didn't talk to anybody. I hadn't seen family in years. I hadn't seen friends in years. I didn't do anything. I was miserable. I was depressed." We've had people say I was contemplating the unspeakable, suicide. People that say they just wish they were dead. Or maybe it's not that bad. Just people that go to work and go home every day and just live this mundane existence. And we've literally had them say, "You saved my," and it's really touching. And it's touching this day. And it's one of those things that just keeps me going on. Because for me, it's not about implants and arches. I cringe when people always want to say, how many arches do you do? How many implants do you place? Who cares? Who cares? How many implants you do, how many you place? It's how many lives you impact. And it's that you impact them. If I see 100 people a month because I want my name to be in lights and all over Instagram and my bank account to be this and that, I see 100 people a month, but I don't serve them well, then I don't impact them well in a positive way. I guess the question is, how many can you do and still impact people optimally? I think that's the most important thing. Or maybe the most important thing, more specific than that, is the last case you did today and the next one you're gonna do. That's it. Because the case from 3 days ago is gone. It's gone. Hopefully we're not gonna have to, we're gonna see him again, I hope, but we're not gonna have to touch it again. But for me, it's a Monday night. And I have 2 surgeries tomorrow, and one in the morning, one in the afternoon. More than I like, frankly. These days, more than I like. Morning's a double, afternoon's a single. I do let my office put in singles in the afternoon sometimes when we're booked out for 4 or 5 weeks, but my perfect day is just come in and impact one person's life this morning. Why? Because I'm in it for a marathon, one. I'm not in it to run a sprint and pass out after 100 yards and die at the finish line. I'm in it for a marathon. I want to be here for my wife. I want to be here for my family. And I want to be here to do this for a long time. And I want to enjoy it. I don't want to run around dog tired. So I want to do a surgery in the morning. I want to impact that next person's life. That's all that matters at noon. At noon every day, the person that's waking up from surgery and who I've got in the clinic, new consults, and what I'm going to do tomorrow. The next person's life. And do you give back to people when there's nothing in it for you? Do you give your soul to your consults? Do you give your heart to your consults when you meet them? Do you even meet your consults? There's another loaded business question. Double-edged sword to meet them, double-edged sword to not meet them. We've got a lot to talk about on that. But for me, I would rather meet my patients. I want to identify with them. I want to be able to call them a friend. If I can't call them a friend, then why would I want to treat them? If they can't call me a friend, why would they trust me enough to treat them? And if you're treating friends and something doesn't go exactly right, they're much more likely to trust you and let you fix it and not take your work to the next competitor where they're going to talk bad about you. You want to treat friends. I want to meet my consultations. I want to treat friends. But most importantly, I want to identify with people. Do you give it your all when you're not being paid? Do you give it your all when you're not being paid? I know I do. I pour my heart out. I'm tired at the end of the day. I'm tired, but it's a life worth living. It's a purposeful life worth living. So this all on X world, all in, all on X, when you go all in, all on X, it's a very rewarding world. It can be very rewarding financially, of course, but you got to put in the work. But you also got to put in the time and the meaning for your patients. It's extremely important. And I think that is what keeps you from burning out. Because I've been there at that point of almost burnout. I've been doing this 23 years or something, or I can't remember, something like that. And I've been at that point of burnout a couple of times. And burnout is when you're just working your ass off and you're going to work every day and you're trying to do as much dentistry as you can for the sake of doing as much dentistry as you can. Or you're doing as much dentistry as you can for the sake of collecting more so you can live a better life. And you justify it because you say, if I really bust my ass now, I'll get to take more vacations or buy that whatever car or house. I get to have this status symbol. It's worth it. But then after some years, you realize that you're sitting in your nice house, luxury car, and on vacation, you're exhausted, and it's meaningless. So counting implants, counting arches was never very important for me. Sure, the first couple of years, like, hey, can we get to 5? Hey, can we get to 10 a month? Hey, can we get to 15 a month? Hey, can we get to 20 a month? Great. Hey, can we get to 30 a month? Whoa. Per doctor in your practice, that's a lot. You might have 2 or 3 doctors in your practice. Maybe you can do 50 or 60 if your advertising's right, but it's going to take you a couple of doctors. Or you're going to have to cut corners and make it meaningless, in my opinion. So what keeps me going and what keeps me from burning out is that I make this about the people. I make this about the next one. And we're probably going to talk a lot more about burnout in the months to come. And I'll recap for those that are still with us. In the weeks and months to come, I do plan on having some lectures or some pictures I do plan on having some guests, but this is just our introduction. Let's shift gears here and let's talk about business. Let's talk a little bit about business. I guess I just did. But implants and All-on-4 are a turning point, potential turning point in your life. It's a turning point in your life to do something that impacts your career, impacts your patients, and impacts yourself more purposefully and larger than it ever has before. You'll have a chance to do more meaningful dentistry that people are really looking forward to, that people really impacts their life. Speaking about implants, you might acquire these skills to do this work, but who are you going to do this work on? Let's talk a little bit about marketing. We'll be talking probably a lot about marketing because that's the question that everybody wants to know. Everybody wants to know, how do I get new patients in? How do I get new leads? Do you use a marketing agency? Who do you use? How much do you spend? How much do I have to spend for X number of arches? How much do I have to spend for X number of leads? I'm getting this many leads, but I'm not getting the arches. What's the problem? There's so many facets and avenues of that marketing game that we all play. I have been advertising in dental implants since the day that I came into private practice in 2006. Why? Because my mentor advertised dental implants since probably 1989, long before it was even, quote, legal to do. And I'll tell you, in those early days, we had to pay the price oftentimes for advertising what we do. Today, it's just mainstream. You have a service, you've acquired all this education, all this training, and you have to tell people that you can do it. If you don't tell people you can do it, they're just going to drive by. They don't know. And then you're stuck doing whatever just walks through the door. So advertising is extremely important if you want to do what you want to do. And if you want to mainstream your office, you want to maximize your profits, you want to maximize your workflow, and you want to be able to turn out good work, you have to advertise. But where are you going to advertise? There are so many options. There's TV, radio, billboards. I think newspapers are dead finally. But social media. And what social media? Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Where are we going? What are we doing? Are we doing YouTube, LinkedIn? What are we doing? Where are we going to be? How much effort are we going to put into it? How much spending are we going to do? If we're a specialty office, are you going to work on referrals? We're a specialty office. I get referrals every day. Probably more than half my consultations are by referral. And so what are you going to do to cultivate those relationships? How are you going to advertise in that realm? So there is a lot to talk about. It's not just about the dentistry and what you can do for people. It's about getting people in the door, and then it's about case acceptance. And for that, most people can't afford to write a $25,000 or a $50,000 or $70,000 check. Most people are financing. Who are you going to work with to help finance these cases? That's the part that nobody really talks about. Everybody's afraid to talk about business. Everybody's afraid to talk about money. Everybody's afraid to talk about sales. I was taught that sales is a 4-letter curse word. You know what? Break the spell. Because sales is a good term in our office because we're not selling something to people that they don't need. We're just letting them know that we're the best place to do it and now's the time to do it. And it's like I said earlier, I had a consultation earlier. The woman was told by another dentist that she was probably going to lose all of her teeth, or maybe she should consider this. She came here because she actually saw a periodontist about it. And the periodontist said, if you're going to have this done, go get Adam Hogan's opinion at Full Implant Choice. And I actually looked at her and I went, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. You need to come in and sit for a complete exam and we'll give you a little bit more advice. But it's not for everybody, and it's not just about the money. It's about doing the right thing for the individual patient. This is work, guys. This is work. I'll be wrapping this up soon for this first episode, but this is work. This isn't going to come easily. This isn't going to come from, okay, I'm just going to take a 2-day course where I can sling in some implants and then I go home and I do a case on Monday. No, that's how you get into trouble. A good friend just referred a case to me that they were having trouble with, And I see all kinds of ways it could have gone better. And I'm not mad or I'm not judging, but they were having problems. And it's the question for me was, what can I do better? Where did it go wrong? And there's bullet points. There's a bunch of bullet points. And he's a good friend. And I'm not throwing him under the bus. I'm not trying to say anything negative, but I see this all the time. I see young dentists around town, definitely not the only one. I think it happens every month with, can you help me on a case I'm stuck on? And they're trying full arch. They're trying all on four. But unfortunately, they just took a course in how to place implants. They think they're going to jump to all on four. Or they took 1, 2, or 3 day course. They think they're going to jump in. Regarding education, I think that we have the most robust, complete continuum that there is for full arch. We've got core fundamentals with cadaver labs. We've got prosthetics and digital workflow. We've got remote anchorage with cadaver lab. We've got FP1. We've got business. We've got one-on-one training. We've got it all. But that being said, I wouldn't believe everything I say, or I would take it at face value and I would go get other opinions. When I was in the 2000s, when I was running around to different education platforms, it was amazing. Every time I came out of one person's course or spent, a lot of them weren't courses because we didn't have a lot of courses then, independent courses. I would just call people on the phone and say, hey, can I come to your office for 3 days? And people would say, yeah, come on. Sometimes they would ask for money, but sometimes they're just, come on. And every time I left there, I was just enthusiastically empowered. Just, I can do this. And then you get home and you realize you're making some mistakes and you need more training. You go back and you thought you learned it all at the first place. And then you go to the other place and something they said at the second place that was maybe the same and you just heard it for the first time, or maybe it was just spun a little differently and now it made sense, or maybe you just had to hear it twice. But I learned from every provider I went to. So while I'm going to encourage you along the way to come to the Atlantic Implant Institute and take our continuum from A to Z, or if you're a specialist and you're already great in prosthetics and you want to do surgery, that's fine. You can do a la carte stuff, that's fine too. But I'm going to encourage you to come, but I'm also going to encourage you to go hear from other people. Your education is never done. My education's not done. I watch my colleagues operate and I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. I should be doing that. Or I'm like, oh, I used to do that. Why'd I stop? Or whatever. But you're always getting reinvigorated and refreshed. So I think that's incredibly important. Some closing comments. Why do I call it all in, all on X? Because all in, it's a poker term. You got to put all your chips in to win. At some point in time, you got to put all your chips in. I know you beginners, when you're just starting out, you're sitting at the table and you're not rich or you don't want to invest a lot of money and you're like, here's a few chips, there's a few chips. Okay, I want to play a hand, I want to play another hand. Okay, here we go. At some point, if you want to win, you got to go all in. So all in, all on X. This is not something that is easily dabbled in. Why? Because you got to be available to do it every day. You got surgery yesterday, you got to do post-ops today, you got another surgery coming on, you got last week's case coming in, you got last month's case coming in, you got finals coming in tomorrow. It's not something that's easy to do. If it's not going to be the only thing you do in your practice, you need to have a small group or a team of people that do just this so they can handle it on a daily basis. It's like you don't do Botox for just a few people and I'm only going to do Botox once a month. Why? Because on any given day, someone's going to come in and say they need a touch and you're doing something else and you don't have Botox vials open. You do Botox, you better do Botox. All in, just all on X. You do all on X, you better do all on X, all in. Remember that this is something you do for your patients, not something you do for yourselves. This transforms patients' lives. It gives them dignity, it gives them confidence, it gives them back their health, it gives them back their humanity. No human was ever meant to take their teeth out of their mouth and put them in a cup. Give them back their humanity and their dignity. Use this all on X experience to transform your practice. And remember the discipline that it takes, the integrity that it takes to do a good job day in and day out. Those Marine Corps-like principles, staying mission focused. Now this is just the beginning. This is just our first episode. Health permitting, vacation schedule permitting, family permitting. I plan to be here at 7 p.m. every first and third Monday of the month. Sometimes, hopefully often with guests, sometimes with a lesson, a little tidbit of clinical or business information. For those of you that are watching this live and that you want to catch our live education, we've got some coming up. Early October, I think the second weekend in October, Dr. Keith Klaus is here with us to do advanced prosthetics and digital workflow. That fourth week of October, Dr. Knife Sonata is here to work FP1 with us. And in October, we've got Dr. Gonzalez coming in for remote anchorage with Cadaver Lab, by the way. And that'll wrap up this year. And in January, we're starting our continuum over again. So you can come in for just class 1, or you can come in for the whole continuum, which will be January, March, and May. But look online. We've got improvements to the website coming, by the way. If you have any questions, you can call and ask or DM, and we'll be happy to return your calls. But I look forward to seeing you here often. Please, one last thing, if you would, subscribe to the All In, All On X podcast on a platform of your choice or all of them: YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Subscribe, and please share with your friends so that we can impact more dentists and we can impact more patients' lives. Let's do this. Let's do this. For now, good night. Thank you for watching, and message us with any questions. I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. All right. Thank you, guys.